From the deepest reaches of the interwebs are two guys here to reveal the secret sauce in helping you develop multiple streams of internet cash flow. Share the knowledge without all the hype. It's the Internet Income Show.
Oh, I like that.
Now get ready for two regular dudes helping you become a smarter entrepreneur, get more out of life, and set you on the right path to becoming happily unemployable. Your host, Dr. Mike and Eric Louviere.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hey, this is Dr. Mike Louviere, also joined by my good friend Eric Louviere. Eric, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to be here.
All right. Well, this is another edition of the Internet Income Show, and I think I broke my record on how many podcast episodes I've done, so we should congratulate ourselves on here.
Pat on the back.
I know you've done a few on here. Well, what's going on? What's going on in terms of you and internet marketing?
Oh, just moving forward. I'm trying to increase the rate of everything. So everything I'm doing, I'm trying to increase the rate. So instead of sending one email out a week, maybe sending out one email a day, things like that.
Increasing the rate, that's pretty interesting. It's funny that you mentioned this. So so this weekend I was at a couple of internet marketing events that were going on here in San Diego, and I was talking about emailing, and one of my friends, well, still friends, but former business partner, Howie Schwartz, and we were talking about him, and Howie was kind of known for emailing his list quite a bit. And this internet marketer that I hadn't seen for a few years is telling me, how's Howie doing? I said, I haven't talked to him in some time. He said, man, yeah, that guy sent out a lot of emails. And they said, well, the reason why he does that, you pretty much have me to blame for that. Because I gave Howie advice. I said, every time I send out an email, I make money. And I was sending out, every other day. Howie tends to send, used to send out an email I think now he sends it 2 or 3 times a day. But what you mentioned was increasing the rate is like, if you find something that works, you do the same thing again and again and again. And it's surprising how often we don't take our own advice on that. But I'm sure and that's probably the reason why you're increasing your rate, correct?
Right, that's right. I think that, what's really easy, at least for me, to get caught up in all the busy work, like if I show up at my office in the morning, I mean, I could spend my entire day just doing all kinds of stuff. And then I get home from work and, go hang out with my family, and I'm like, what did I do today that actually generated more revenue? Nothing. I was just fulfilling everything and answering questions and, just doing this customer service and just doing all this different type of busy work. And then I remember hearing a long time ago that Dan Kennedy, he makes sure that he sends a fax or answers a fax or sends an email or does something at least every day that generates revenue, that's sales. And here recently I thought, I'm just going to increase my rate of throwing stuff out there, just throwing myself out there, making sales, sending promotions, getting affiliates to promote, launching a new ad campaign, whatever that generates new business. And then just increase my rate of that, almost kind of like a flurry of action. There you go. Just a flurry of action, and some of it's going to be good and some of it's going to be a waste of time, but at least if I'm operating at a higher rate like that, a higher vibration or frequency or something, I don't know what the word is, then something will, catch a hold, and then next thing you know, you've tripled your revenue.
That makes a lot of sense. And we were talking about, before the show, a bit just about just getting ourselves out there. And when I'm looking through all the different activities, that I've done in internet marketing, I've identified, what are the methods that, bring me back that ROI, that return different methods that I do, one of the most powerful things that you can do is actually going out there and going to internet marketing events, or going to a networking event, or going to a meetup or a local chamber of commerce meeting. And it's not surprising when most people say that, to make money on the internet, you have to go off the internet. And that really is true. I mean, I went to, going to a party that was, late at night. It was having a networking event. And to be honest, I really wasn't up to going there. There was a lot of things going on, going on in my life. Well, I'm just going to put this out there. We had to put down our cat over the weekend.
Oh.
I don't know why I'm laughing. This is not a funny thing. But literally 2 hours before the event, I had to go to bed. My wife and we have a cat. Her name is Pepper, and she's been with us for over 10 years. Which in the cat world, I think is pretty young. But unfortunately, she had kidney failure, and we had to make a decision, and she just wasn't perking up, and was like, bad time, and very down. But like the last thing I wanted to do that night is to go have fun and go out and network. But sometimes you got to do things that you're not really accustomed to doing and put yourself out there, and I'm glad I went, because I made some connections, new connections, and that'll help my business. I reconnected with some people I haven't seen in like 4 or 5 years, and there could be some synergy going on in there. But one of the things you can do is, and sometimes that's hard to quantify too, is like, especially when you're starting your business, if you can't say like, you can say, well, I want to make $1 million next month. Well, that's all fine and good and sure, but how are you going to do it? But if you can quantify into saying like, I can attend, my goal in this month is to attend 3 networking events. That's something that's attainable, right? That's something that you can physically measure versus, okay, you want to make $1 million a month, how are you going to do that? But if you say, I'm going to attend 3 high-quality networking events, put myself out there, or I'm going to, give my contact information to 50 people, that's a much, in my opinion, it's much easier for me to once I reach that goal, I can cross it off my list of what I needed to do. Does that make sense, Eric?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It made me think about something that me and you talked about, and then I told my wife. I was like, me and Dr. Mike told me about these business guys that did this one deal and made, X amount of money, which is tons of money, and very quickly, in a day. And I was like, I need to up my game, take it to the next level. And she's like, well, what are you going to do to up your game? And that could have been the question of like a lifetime. I'm like, oh, that's a good question. And I'm like, well, one is I could do what those guys are doing. If you think about it from a realistic, logical, simplified point of view, I basically don't do any of the things that those guys do. I mean, not necessarily in the same manner. And so I'm like, well, then I could start by doing some of those things. Like one of the things that you just mentioned, going to these events. Well, I'll go to a lot of events, that's up in the game, going to more events, because you network and you have a different, or at least I know I have a different motivational perspective whenever I leave an event of other like-minded people. I now have a higher level of courage, less fears to accomplish whatever I want to accomplish, which could be, getting to the next level of revenue. Anyone that does $1 million a year wants to do 10 or 20. Anyone that does 10 or 20 probably wants to do 50 or 100, million. It's just productive, it's just, while you're on the planet, you might as well try to accomplish something instead of just like hanging on, waiting to the bitter end. You might as well try to do something. So I think that from what you said is very powerful, and if I was to sit down and kind of write out 20 things that I could do to up my game, and then those things would consist of stuff like you just said, like it might be, well, email once a day instead of once a month, and reach out for, get JV affiliates, try to strike deals with, bigger players that have bigger reach, write a book, go to events. The list can, those 20 things that can be done, well, those 20 steps or 20 action-oriented things are quantifiable if you look at them from a point-by-point perspective like that, instead of, well, I just want to make $1 million. It's not going to magically just show up and be like, poof, there's $1 million, and it's cause and effect. So I think that's a really good point. A lot of people don't look at it like that, but it's like you can build a list, and then you can do this and do that, and those steps, those action steps, is really where the results come from. And then it kind of compounds. If you have like at least what I've found is if you have a list of 20 things to do, and you start off with like, okay, I'm going to start out with number 1 and start doing that, and then you cross that off. Okay, I'm doing that now, and then I'm going to start doing number 2 on my list, and okay, now I'm doing that now. Next thing you know, it kind of compounds, and before you even get to like number 5, you're having 10 times more results than you ever had, because you just started taking a couple of new action steps that were outside your comfort zone. And so it just like reaches this critical mass point very, very quickly, and then just explodes before you even get to like step number 6, much less step number 20,
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And what this kind of reminds me of is we have a lot of, we have folks that we've coached over the years, or had students. I have a lot of students. You've had a lot of students, and I kind of focus on the people who've been successful, like why they're successful. What did they do? What are they doing that I could be doing? And then, but the other way to look at it is, who are the people who are not successful? Why are they not successful? And I think a lot of it comes down to not getting out of your comfort zone. And it reminds me of that. Eric, do you ever watch Seinfeld? Do you ever watch Seinfeld?
Oh, yeah.
Show? Yeah. Do you remember that episode where, like, George, he's kind of a sad kind of guy, and everything goes wrong for him? Like, one day he had, like, an epiphany. He said, if everything I'm doing is wrong, if I did completely the opposite of what I'm doing, would I become more successful? You remember that episode?
Vaguely.
Well, basically, he was like, he basically says, I lie to, if he wanted to, date more attractive women. And so I lie and tell them that I'm a marine biologist and, I'm very successful. And then he said, you know what, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm just going to tell them that I'm poor and I live with my mom. And like, he like went and he did it. She comes in on a conversation, and like the woman says, hi, my name's George, and he goes, oh, hi, I'm Sarah. They got this hot, model on there. But, if you're currently struggling in getting your business online, just look what you've been doing for the last few months. What are you doing? And I kind of see patterns from people who are not successful is, they're not launching their product, they're not going out to events, or they do things that don't take them out of their comfort zone. I mean, I don't know about you, Eric, but usually what's one of the first things that you usually see people do when they're like trying to start a business? Usually they're trying to do something that in and of itself isn't making a lot of ROI. I don't know if you've noticed it. But I see, like, when I work with students, it's like, I need to get a logo. And they'll spend all these months and thinking about, like, their logo. Or I need to get the perfect domain name. And they spend months, figuring out their domain name. And when you look at successful people, I think the last thing they do is, like, think about getting a logo. I think they talk about getting a business card. Oh, God, we're talking more about this. I had a client, and she spent, like, months, like, designing the perfect business card. Have you ever come across folks like this?
Oh, yeah,
definitely. All the time, and they focus on getting a business card. So they go to, like, you can go, like, LegalZoom, and you can do, like, I can get a business card, like, done, like, in the next 10 minutes. Because that's not going to make me money. It's it's one of the first tests we do because it's easy and it's simple, and or they'll talk, they'll figure out their business incorporation, but God love them, but it's not something that's going to take you to that level. So you have to take yourself. You have something's not working for you. You need to do the exact opposite.
Hey, have you ever noticed? Like I've noticed, like when I make an offer in the internet marketing market to help people make money, we'll get support tickets and comments and stuff from people saying things like this. Hey, Eric, your new offer, your new program sounds really good, but I have a quick question before I click the Buy Now button. Do I have to, in order to make this work, do I have to come out on videos? Yeah. Or the next question might be, hey, this looks really good. I was going to buy it, but I just wanted to make sure that, in order for to make this work, that do I have to spend money on paid advertising? And then it's like, do I have to go to events? Do I have to create squeeze pages? Do I have to know HTML? Do I have to know copywriting? Do I have to know, and the list goes on and on. So people have these barriers, and they look at it like, well, in order to make something work, in order to make some money, it's got to fit into my parameters of what's comfortable. Because if you show me something that's not comfortable, then I'm not going to buy, or I'm not going to learn it, or I'm not going to take the actions because it's outside my comfort zone. So like when I first started, I had that problem, and for me it was technical stuff. Like I thought, well, if it requires HTML and technical stuff, then I got to find something else to do because I'm just not good at that. And instead of looking at it like, well, I'm just going to do it anyway and find a way because, well, there's a will, there's a way. There's some kind of answer to every kind of barrier. There's always an answer to everything. There's always a solution. So when people start focusing more on the solution as opposed to the problem, then you see things completely differently. So instead of me saying to myself all the time, well, I'm not good at technical stuff, so I got to find something else that meets my parameters of comfort in order to make money, I started looking at it like, screw it, I'm going to do whatever I can to make money, and I'm going to fix this technical problem, and so how can I fix it? Duh, outsource or hire somebody to do it, and,
right.
Or learn it, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, that was easy. Now that I got that covered, what's another barrier that I need to break? Oh, well, I don't want to come out on videos, or I have this Texas accent that no one's going to like, and so I think we all have our barriers and comfort zone insecurities and stuff like that, but when you look at it from success and you look at modeling other people or other businesses that are already successful, I think it's a matter of just looking at it and saying, well, what are they doing and what steps are they taking, what actions, tasks are they doing, and I need to do the same thing, whatever it takes, and then I think once we do something, we're like, wow, that wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be,
And I think there is, and I think it comes down to is just, what is your level of risk? What are you willing to do? And for me, I guess it's just the way you're wired is, as a doctor, it's not in our nature, and I work with a lot of doctors, and they're very risk averse. They don't want to handle risk. I don't want to put my name out there. I don't want to do this, but I want to make lots of money. Well, sure, there are ways that you could do it without putting your name out there, but you need to. What happens is they'll, like you said, they'll put up any obstacle as an excuse to move on to the next thing. So they'll move on to something else on there. And, I think there's like a gene. I don't know if there's a gene or something like this. One of the things I looked into is like there are just people who are wired to be entrepreneurs, and there are people who are just wired to be employees. And, that's what it is. And if you're somebody who would rather just, work for someone else on there's nothing wrong with that, or, have the security and doing that. But, I think if you want to get anywhere, it's not, especially in the internet business, there is really no set agenda. Sure, there's certain things that we've learned again and again, but you have some time. You have to put yourself out there. You have to go to the events. You have to go. You've got to, you got to have a website. And and the way that I look at it too is like, people are so scared of putting themselves out there, and for different reasons. And it's funny because I think I mentioned this. I had a client who paid me like $10,000 for consulting. This is when I was doing one-on-one coaching. I don't do it anymore. He did consulting, and he said, I want to do this. I want to find my niche. What niche should I go into? And then he I said, okay, well, based upon what you said, I said, what your interests are, I think you should do this one, and this one. I said, okay. So then I called him again the next month and we talked. He said, well, where are you on your niche? I said, I still haven't found what I want to do. So I'm thinking about this one, and this one. Okay, well, here's why I think you should do this and this. They call next month. I still haven't found it. And we go on and on for 6 months. I don't want to keep taking your money on here because, and eventually you never did anything with it. And it's kind of, you're just so almost paralyzed because you feel like it has to be perfect when you launch it. The thing is, the website has to be perfect. And if you've ever seen either my websites, and I probably shouldn't speak for Eric, but our websites aren't perfect. That's not. You're never going to get there, and sometimes it just has to be good enough to get it out there. So, can you process PayPal? Can you process a ClickBank? Yeah, that has to be functional, but it doesn't have to be perfect. If you wait until your site's perfect, nothing will ever get launched or accomplished.
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually launched products that all it really had was a sales letter. And I was like, well, I'll create the content later. It's like you're here and you're buying it. And by the way, this program you bought is going to be on weekly calls for the next 6 weeks. And that's so I'm actually getting paid to create the content in that regard. So there's a lot of, I think there's what you're talking about is everything when it comes to being able to succeed in business. Is most people they never do step one, which is to pick the niche market they're going after, or whatever step one is. They never do it. They kind of, because they're comfortable. One guy, I don't remember who it was I learned this from, but he said people go from rags to riches more often than they go from six-figure incomes to riches, because they're comfortable with the six-figure income. Bills are getting paid. They got a nice car and a decent house and a couple of vacations a year maybe, everything's fine. But, you take that six-figure job away from them, and then all of a sudden they can become extremely successful because now they're outside their comfort zone. And that made a lot of sense to me. And you see that a lot, like the person you're talking about. I mean, I pictured someone who already makes pretty good income because they had 10 grand to fork over for coaching. They probably know their stuff when it comes to internet marketing because they buy a lot of stuff and they go through it, but they never take the action. So they're like professional internet marketing buyers, just buying lots and lots of different products and stuff and going through training videos and all that, never really taking the action. And really, when it comes down to it, you see other people who don't have, anywhere near the kind of education that, the people with money have, but there's this sense of urgency that they need to get it done, and so they create some product, or they create some squeeze page and promote some affiliate offer, or they just get something done because there's a sense of urgency because they need to make money in order to pay their bills and put food on the table, and they see this as an avenue of, generating cash to survive and thrive and pay the bills and get to the next level and have this nice lifestyle. So there's a real big sense of urgency. Well, when there's that sense of urgency, there's also that sense to overcome the barriers and stuff, and the obstacles and challenges and personal problems that get in the way that prevent most people from continuing on. So they're like, well, hell, I don't know HTML, but you know what? I need to get this up, so let me figure out a way, and they go and they try to figure out a way, and then when you seek, you find, and then they find a solution to that, and then another obstacle shows up. What affiliate program am I going to pick to promote? And they start searching that, and then they find a perfect one. They reach out to the product owner, and the person says they'll give them more commissions plus percentages of the back ends, and it just compounds from there. So it really what it comes down to is just taking a flurry of action, which is really funny because it's kind of how we started out the whole conversation with increase in frequency. But that's what a lot of people need to do. You know, they need to pick a niche. They need to, you know, create a squeeze page, start building a list, and start selling products to those people and just letting it fly instead of trying to create a masterpiece of perfection that's never going to happen. I mean, our websites are never perfect.
And a couple of other things that I want to you know, talk about is, I know recently Eric, you launched I think it's okay to talk about you're launching a WSO recently, and you're really affordable.
Mm-hmm.
But I came across, like, somebody said, I only got like $50 in my bank account or something.
Right.
And he was like, you know, I'm like, I don't know what you told him, but I would have said, like, well, why don't you get a job?
So that was my first reaction. My first thought was, well, go get a job, you know, $50, that's a crisis.
Yeah, that's like, there's like other things going on in your life, and probably hanging out in the waterfront is not one of my first, would not be one of my first, things to do for the day. You know? And so, you know, I think when you're doing marketing, you know, if you're in an issue where you got to choose between putting food on the table and starting a business, why don't you, you know, supplement your business by getting a job and getting into that situation? Because you're not in a state of mind where, you know, your whole life is dependent on, you know, getting that in, you know, getting that money coming in. And, you know, despite the economy, there's a ton of jobs that you can do. Heck, I could put burgers by $50, you know, in my bank account on it, whatever you need to do to make that work for you. So I was thinking that you need to have some cushion there before you actually move on to something. But for some people, you know, you hear that they're dead broke and they need to do something, and they can do it, and more power to them. But I think, you know, if you got in that situation, you know, go pay your mortgage, or go, you know, do what you have to do to make it work, and then go into things. The other thing that I want to mention too about you know, with internet marketing is, the thing that I've noticed too is you had mentioned the internet marketing buyer. You know, people just buy product, and then they don't get anywhere. You know, I'm lucky to call some of the biggest names in the industry. You know, my friends, and most of those guys are making big money. They're not buying product after product after product. And they're often not keeping up to date on what's the latest in internet marketing.
Yeah, they don't even know what's for sale out there.
Yeah, I have no clue, because because to be honest, there's information overload. But why are they successful going into each different market? So, you know, I talked to one. He says, you know, I'm not in a marketing market, but I'm now in the dating market, or I'm in the health market. And they're able to seamlessly go into different markets. And how do they do that? You know, figure out what they're doing that you're not doing. They're not buying product after product after product, how to be a diet guru or something, or how to be a dating guru. But they form relationships, and it goes back to what we just talked about networking and finding who are the successful people in those industries, and they're utilizing the same techniques and strategies. They're using copywriting, they're using video that they're doing in current markets, but they're applying it to different things. And they're not buying product after product after product. And if you're someone who's listening to this and you're doing that, one, thank you, because you're probably paid fair. for my bills and things like that. But it's also, at the time, is like just stick with one person and stick with, a few mentors that are working, that you're happy with and you've got synergy with and connecting with them. And, but you don't have to buy product after product. I'm sure you've seen the same thing in your circle of friends, Eric.
I don't really have any friends.
I know you don't. But
Just you,
did virtually.
right?
Yeah. See, now that's a little creepy. I'll buy you some virtual friends on Fiverr, okay?
Sweet.
But most of them aren't buying product as a product, and they don't know what's going on in the industry, but they know it works. And something that's already worked is, you do the same thing again and again and again.
Yeah, I think the people that are making money, good money, great money, those people are busy selling, not buying,
Yeah.
selling. But me and you, we'll buy stuff too. We all buy stuff. We all buy. I bought something recently, a traffic program. On media buying. I'll buy stuff all the time, but I'm not a buyer. I'm a seller. I'm busy selling. And then I kind of look at it like this visually. Like I buy this these little notebooks that have just white paper. Like people would draw, like sketching. That doesn't have lines, so I could draw out stuff and visualize. And one time I drew this circle in the middle of the page, and then I put all these lines that came out from the circle, kind of like a spoke, like a tire rim that has spokes. And then at the end, I had all these different things. So in the middle was me, Eric, right? And then that was the core. And then on the outer rim, all the circles out there was everything else, right? It was a blog and my Facebook page and YouTube subscription and press releases and interviews and podcasts and everything is all on the outside, and the core was me, because I couldn't think of anything else to put in the core. Would it be a squeeze page? Would it be a membership site or a business? And all that stuff comes and goes, and I couldn't really think of anything else to put there in the core. I'm sure other people, it might be a business or or some software or something that they have that's like a flagship signature product that's bringing in over $1 million a year. But at the time I drew this, I didn't have a $1 million membership anymore because I just sold it. So it was just like I sold everything. It was just me left, right? I sold the list, I sold everything. So it was just me in the core, and then everything else is on the outside of it. And then so I'm like, okay, well, where am I going to start? Well, I'm going to start building a list. So if I went into a new niche market, this is the same core, right? You can just replace the niche from internet marketing to diet or dating or golf or whatever. And so in the middle is me, and then so what's the first thing? Okay, well, I'm going after the diet marketplace. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a list, right? Because I want that captured traffic that I can continue to promote to and brand myself to and sell them lots of stuff over and over again. So now inside that circle, which is the core, which says Eric, I write a squeeze page. That's my first step, is I'm going to create a squeeze page and go out there and start trying to get traffic to the squeeze page, start building the list. And then so my core starts growing, and then I add in there, the circle starts growing in the middle, and then I start adding well, I need an offer to promote. So first I go and look for the affiliate offer to promote because I haven't created anything yet. And then so I found affiliate, now my circle got a little bit bigger. But for me, everything is on the outside until I start putting it into the middle. So different things are not quite as important yet. So when someone comes to me and they say, you know what would be a really great idea is if we take your product and we translate it into German and market to the German marketplace. And I heard this recently. This is why I'm saying it. Is someone else mentioned this as far as traffic. I'm like, well, I haven't even reached the English market very well yet, much less go into the German marketplace. Or there's still plenty of money to be made in the internet marketing market before I split over to the golf market. And so anyway, all in all, I think that there's always stuff to learn. There's always things to do. There's always circles out there on the outer rim that I could be doing. Like someone could say, you know what, you really should do YouTube marketing because it's such a gold mine for getting traffic. And when you start doing YouTube marketing, you got this captured community, and the YouTubes go viral videos, and YouTube marketing is just brilliant for making a lot of money. I'm like, well, I'm still making a lot of money by recruiting affiliates and advertising on Bing. I haven't made it there yet. And then they're like, well, what about press releases? You can do all these press releases and as seen on the Wall Street Journal. I'm like, well, I'll get there one day, but right now there's still millions of dollars to be made from Bing or Facebook traffic, and so there's always something new to learn. There's always some new direction to go if that's what people are looking for. But again, like that sense of urgency that a lot of successful people in the market have, they have this sense of urgency because they need the cash now. They got to pay for some stuff, and they want to go on vacation to Aspen or something, and so the urgency kicks in, and they look at it like, what can I do right now to generate cash? And like right now, I know I can send an email today and generate cash, or 3, like Howie, and generate 3 times the money today. So there's that kicks in, and I think it's a sense of generating revenue, and then it becomes a sense of escaping comfort zones to get to the next level.
Yeah, and when I buy products, I only buy it how it relates to like my business or what I'm doing at the time. And like I said, there's so many different ways. And what's funny is like, so I'll look like on the Warner Forum, and I'll look on a WSO, and then I'll find like, let's say I was going to do like LinkedIn, and I wanted to get this product, and unfortunately, it no longer sell the product. But that's the one I want to buy. So like, 9 times out of 10, I can buy the product. But it's like something from like a year ago. But because I was like interested in this one technique on LinkedIn, and it seemed like this covered it, I'll like contact them, because I'm only going to do things that I'm currently working on. If I wanted to do, like you said, YouTube, and it's not meshing with what I'm currently doing, well, then I'm spending all that time trying to figure that out when I'm already doing something right now and focusing on what's working in my business right now. What can I get it to that next level? I need to figure out this part of it. And if someone who knows this is doing this, then I'll do that. But I'll buy products that aren't even like publicly available because it doesn't fit to what I'm currently doing. And I think that's a lot of times where we get overloaded, is because we want to do everything, and we want to do what's the latest, what's the coolest thing that's coming out. It's like, I just want to do what I'm currently doing, and if I can maximize that, then after I've done that, then I'll move on to something like video or press releases or something else. So, hey, anyway, we covered a lot of stuff on here. I don't think it's everything that we wanted to talk about on here, but we wanted to talk about some simple ways to start generating income, and I think perfectly, what you just mentioned, increasing your rates, getting out of the comfort zone, focusing on 1 or 2 events, networking that you can do, and then following up. That's an important part. We'll talk about that sometime, importance of following up with people, and getting out of that buying mentality. So a lot of different topics we covered. And if you like what you hear, spread the word around on our podcast, the Internet Income Show. And before we end the call, is there anything you wanted to share, anything you're currently doing right now you want to let the audience know?
I have a request. I want to be referred to as Dr. Eric on the show. Can I be Dr. Eric, and that way, we kind of match?
Possibly. There's possibly you could be mentioned Dr. Eric, but you'd have to go through my certification course, which I charge for. But that sale's going to end tomorrow, so I'll suggest. Yeah, that's right. So, all right, guys. Thanks for joining us on another show. We'll talk to you guys next time. For Dr. Eric, this is Dr. Mike. Thanks for listening, and always remember, listen, learn, and prosper.
You just listened to the Internet Income Show with Dr. Mike and Eric. Now, get to work.